You're watching Hot Walk Academy. My name is Ming Jin Tong. I want to help you master your kitchen. Let's cook. Today we are making something that we love to eat in our family from Taiwan, and we call it Liang Ban Veggies. Liang Ban is a way of preparing vegetables that is raw. You can think of it as a salad. Not quite pickled, but it does have vinegar. And liang means cold, so it is intended that you eat these cold. And ban is the verb that we use to say this is we're mixing it together. So cold mixed vegetables is what we're making. This is a great side dish that you can serve with all kinds of meals if you like. And keep in mind, we've got here Persian cucumbers that we're using. And these Persian cucumbers are amazing. They've got a nice thin skin with no bitterness to it. And the seeds on the inside are very, very small. And they don't have any texture to them. So they're just a great vegetable for doing liang ban, for eating raw. And then of course, we've got here classic bean sprouts. Bean sprouts are just so crisp. Make sure when you get them, look for ones that are in a big airy bag or even left out in the open. You don't want them sitting in moisture for too long. They will kind of begin to brown and rot. So get some nice fresh bean sprouts. You can buy bean sprouts pretty much anywhere. And also, you can use this particular combination of ingredients, this style of liang ban vegetables, for any kind of vegetable that you might eat raw. Again, try it. If there's a vegetable like zucchini, maybe bell peppers that you enjoy eating raw, you can try this particular method on all of those. A quick rundown of our ingredients. We've got distilled white vinegar. I prefer this over rice vinegar because I don't want to taste any other flavor in my liang ban other than just the sourness that vinegar gives us. And the other ingredient, this one is incredibly fragrant. Oh man, that smells so good. So good and nutty. This is sesame oil. And this particular brand is Kadoya, K-A-D-O-Y-A. It's a Japanese toasted sesame oil that you can buy at almost every Asian market will carry this. And I've got it here in a squirt bottle. I really want to encourage you, if you've not considered using squirt bottles in your home, go buy a 6-pack. They're only a few bucks each, maybe even $1.50 each. And it really changes the way that your muscle memory, the instinct that you have for how you use ingredients, really gets developed well if you have a nice squeeze bottle. So get a squeeze bottle for your sesame oil. We also have granulated sea salt. And this right here is sugar. And the sugar is going to add that sweetness to our liang ban veggies. And then of course, one last item. Boy, this just shows up in all my recipes, doesn't it? And this is garlic, and we'll be using that as well. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, this is a non-cooked way to prepare vegetables. So we're gonna show you from start to all the way to the end. Okay. I think the first thing we should do is we are going to add some salt to our bean sprouts. Now, the reason we do this, when we add the salt in first, is because salt, as soon as it touches the outside of that bean sprout, what's going to happen is it's going to start eating away. The salt is going to break the cell wall of those bean sprouts, and it's going to start making them wilt. Almost right away. And that's not a bad thing. In fact, that wilting opens up the cells of the bean sprouts to then receive better the vinegar and the sesame oil and the sugar that we're putting there. So I sprinkled it on top. And I'm just going to give it a quick toss. And just do a little bit more sea salt. And give it another toss. Now, you might think, doesn't the sea salt hit the bean sprout and bounce off? The answer is yes and no. Some pieces do bounce off, other pieces actually stick, and right away it begins to break the cell wall, which creates what? Moisture. There is water in those cell walls, and that moisture comes out onto the surface of the bean sprout and pulls even more salt in. Now, you have to be careful. Don't over salt, because the salt you put in is going to stay in your final product. You're not going to be dumping any of it out. So do be careful not to over salt your bean sprout. You can always add salt later. It's impossible to remove it. Okay? So we'll toss it, and you can actually already see the bean sprouts are beginning to wilt just a little bit. I'm going to let them sit while we work on our cucumbers. So for our Persian cucumbers, which you can buy at most grocery stores these days, what we're going to do is we want to remove the end from each of the cucumbers, and then we're going to do a technique that we call pai. And pai is really just this slapping, okay? Or a gentle pat would be another way to say it. So what we'll do, I'll take just a couple here. And these Persian cukes I have rinsed off already. And we're just gonna cut off the end, and we will, oh, I missed. We will compost those. Same thing here. And we've got 6 cukes total. We'll compost those ends. All right, and this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna put them here in our product bowl, and we are gonna take each cucumber, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit it pie on the side of our knife, and there's 2 goals here. Number 1, we wanna crush the cucumber into the same flatness for all of them, and that's one way of cutting it. So instead of cutting the cucumber this way, we're actually just gonna hit it. And when we do that, the second thing that happens is that the seeds on the inside and all the pulp that holds those seeds together, it becomes almost a nice sauce just right there automatically, okay? So we will pie all of these guys. Don't hit it too hard. If you hit it too hard, you get too much splash everywhere. Just give it some nice gentle patting. You can see that coating my finger already, all that the juice from the cucumber. It's so crispy. And these things are really just delicious. If you've not used Persian cucumbers before, I want to encourage you to go to the store, buy them, try them. They are more like an English cucumber. Those are the ones that are so special they come wrapped in their own plastic wrap, shrink wrapped. They taste more like an English cucumber than a regular cucumber that you would buy at the store. But these ones are even sweeter, and I think even better than English cukes. Okay, after you've got all of them pie, what you'll do is you're gonna cut them into essentially the same size. Now, how big do you cut it? The question is, how big do you want to eat the cucumber? What size bite do you want to have? So we like to make things bite-size, especially in Chinese cooking, because we're eating with chopsticks. We don't want to have to break it again. So I'll just cut it like this. And this is about the size that we want. Let's see if I can show you. Yep, kind of a crushed up piece of cucumber. And let's go ahead and put that in our landing bowl. All right, just a real rough cut. And here we have our Persian cukes, and they are now ready to be seasoned. So this is how we're gonna do it. Let me just give my board and knife a quick rinse. Again, when you're working with a knife, always remember to keep your knife hand dry. That's a big safety issue. You wanna have at all times one hand that is your knife hand. You don't touch the food product with this hand, and your other hand is your product hand. And this is the hand that you can have a little bit more fun with, get a little bit dirty. Okay, let me wipe my board down here. And for seasoning, now there's 2 ways you can do this. If you want, you could take another bowl and you could put your vinegar and salt and sugar and sesame oil in there. You could beat it with a whisk, and then you could taste this particular sauce you've made and then add it on. I'm actually gonna do it a more simple way, which is just to simply add my ingredients right onto here. Here's why I do that. because I've cooked so much, as I'm sure many of you have as well, I'm very familiar with how much flavor is produced when I add a certain ingredient. And because I have that knowledge, I can apply that even to the salad. So how much salt should this have? Well, I know from experience that cucumber is quite bland. And so I'm gonna add probably 3 pinches of salt like that. Okay? Now, for the sugar, same thing. I know that sugar, though when you eat it straight, tastes pretty sweet, as soon as you add it to a product, the flavor really disappears. You need a lot of sugar to make something sweet. My goal is not to make this a sweet salad. My goal is to create a complexity of the flavor by adding some sugar in there. So I am not trying to make this a candied recipe. I'm trying to, again, just add a different dimension of flavor. So I'm only gonna put a little bit of sugar in there. I'm gonna rinse my hands off so it's not so sticky. Next will be my white distilled vinegar. This vinegar, again, when you have undiluted vinegar, it is very strong. And judging by the 6 cukes I have here, I don't really want too much vinegar. I don't want it to be overpowering. I want a nice balance between nutty and salty and sweet and sour. So here's the technique. Put your index finger over the opening of the vinegar and allow a little bit of space on each side so the vinegar can flow out. And this way you can tip your vinegar all the way over and you have a controlled flow, okay? And I don't want too much. I'm just gonna do an even splash everywhere. I think that is gonna be about right. If you're wondering, that was probably about a teaspoon. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna taste it when I'm done to see if I need any more. And the last ingredient, of course, is my kadoya sesame oil. And sesame oil is very fragrant. In fact, if you have sesame oil, open it up and smell it. If you are not immediately falling in love, get rid of it. It's not the right sesame oil for you. Get one that is rich and fragrant and nutty, as it should be. So for here, I'm gonna do about twice as much sesame oil as I'm doing my vinegar. Again, vinegar is a very strong super flavor. I don't want to put too much. This, although very fragrant, is a little bit more subdued, so we need to add a little bit more of it. But do be careful. Too much sesame oil will make you sick. It is a diuretic, so be careful with that. Let's do this much here. I'm gonna do an even coat, and I think that is about right. Let's go ahead and give this a toss. Now, one thing I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna taste it right away. And you might think, why is that? It's because these ingredients take time for the sodium to break down into the cell wall for the cucumber to actually absorb the other flavors. If you taste it right away, you might be tasting something that's not yet fully developed. Give it some time, let it rest. In the meantime, we will revisit our bean sprouts to see how they are doing. Okay. Here's our bean sprouts. They have, look at that, they've wilted actually quite a bit. They're not making a crunching sound anymore, and it's because the salt is doing its job, wilting the bean sprouts for us to give it a much softer texture. Let's give it another toss. And same ingredients. Sugar, not to make it sweet, but to diversify and complexify. Complexify, I don't know if that's a word, but to make the flavor more complex. A little bit of sweetness there. I don't need to add any more salt. Same thing. I'm gonna put my finger over the vinegar and let's let that go. I do want some sour in my liang ban. And then the last part, of course, is our sesame oil. Give that a nice, generous coating. All right, and we'll toss that. Okay, here's the very last step. We will let these ingredients soak in, and in order to, again, bring that flavor to a full orbed experience, we want something now that's going to cut a different direction in both of these salads. And raw garlic does that perfectly. So we'll break off just a couple cloves, probably just 1 clove per salad is gonna be enough. And I'll find the fattest ones I can find. So there's one there, and here's one. Actually, look at this. This is a real big one. Maybe I'll use this one instead. So I'm gonna open this up, compost that skin, and I cannot recommend this particular garlic press enough. Now, I've used so many garlic presses. Zillis, if you're watching this, you're welcome. And we have no relationship with this brand. I just really like this press. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and press my garlic. Now, I could also cut the garlic by hand, chop it by hand, mince it, and throw it in. But the reason why I'm using the press for this particular way is because it makes the garlic so small, and that's what I want. I want not to taste chunks. I don't want the texture of garlic in my food, but I do want that essence in there. So here we go. And I think I'm gonna do about half of here. Let me see. Okay, actually I think that's about right. I kind of like that much garlic there. And you can see I've got the equivalent of about 1 clove of garlic in there. And again, I'm just gonna toss that. And you can actually, I don't know if you can see, let me see if I can put a knife in here and show you. There's actually now quite a bit of liquid that has come out because the salt, again, is doing its job. And of course, we've added vinegar in there, and we've added sesame oil in there. But most of that liquid that you're seeing has come from the cucumbers, not from the liquids that we added. So let's give this a toss. Get that mixed up. Okay, and for this one, we are not gonna be adding garlic to this, only for the cucumbers. Let's go ahead and give that a taste. I'm gonna get a spoon. And we'll give it a quick mix. And what am I trying to taste here? The star of the show is what? Is the main ingredient. The star of the show is the cucumber. We want to bring that cucumber flavor out. If it's not tasting like cucumbers, we have not done our job. All of the other ingredients are helping us to really enjoy that fresh cucumber flavor. Also, when you go to taste your food, I want to make a suggestion to you. Take a mouth-filling portion. Why? Because taste is created by much more than just the tongue. It's all of the textures that are in your mouth and on your teeth. And as you breathe in all of that goodness, that's how you really taste it. Take a big bite so you can taste a full orb experience of what you've made. And we'll try to change the ingredients that we need a little later. Okay, so here we go. Let's take a bite. I really like that. I'm tasting a lot of crunch, a lot of freshness from the cucumber itself, which is what we want. It does have the right salt level. I don't want to make this salty. I want to make this fresh because cucumbers are fresh. And I can definitely taste that sesame oil for that nuttiness. Okay, and the last one, I'm going to go ahead and mix this. And this time I'm going to mix it with chopsticks. And let's try this as well. Again, taking a big bite to fill our mouth so we can have a full experience of tasting these bean sprouts. What am I looking for? I'm looking for a little bit sweet, I'm looking for nutty and a little bit sour. And of course, I'm not trying to make a salty salad. Salt brings out the natural flavors that are already there. That's delicious. Thank you so much for watching. I really want to encourage you, buy these ingredients, bring them home, make this recipe, try it for yourself. And if you find an adjustment that you love, you have made it your own. Please let me know in your comments below, what have you made Liang Ban salads with? Tell me if you enjoy it. Thanks for watching.